All right, so you want to dive into the economic ties between Denmark and Germany, huh? Let's do it. We've got this new report straight from Denmark's statistic, about Danish trade, fresh off the press, September 10th, 2024. We're talking serious money here, billions of kroners flowing between these two European powerhouses, and we're going to unpack it all.
Yeah, it's definitely a relationship worth understanding. You see, Germany consistently ranks as Denmark's second biggest trading partner.
Yeah.
And that goes both ways for what Denmark buys A&D, what it sells. Speaks volumes about their economic ties, doesn't it?
It really does, and we're not talking small potatoes here.
Yeah.
The report says that in 2023, total trade between them, everything combined, reached a massive 469.2 billion Danish kroner. To put that in perspective, think about it. 14.1% of all the stuff Denmark imports comes directly from Germany. And on the flip side, 12.2% of everything Denmark sends out goes straight to Germany.
It really highlights just how crucial this economic link is between these two nations. It's not just about the sheer volume of trade, but the fact that they both depend on each other for so much essential goods,
Yeah.
services, the whole shebang.
Exactly. Now, digging into those 2023 numbers, something interesting pops up. The overall trade with Germany, it actually dipped a little compared to 2022. And this is where it gets interesting, this dip is mostly from trade in goods, actual physical stuff, trade in services. That actually went up.
That's a really important detail to catch because it could point to a shift in how Denmark and Germany are interacting economically. There's a lot of global factors that could be playing into that goods trade. But this growth in services, that could mean we're seeing a change, a move towards more specialized knowledge-based exchanges.
Okay, so we've got this kind of contrast going on. Trade in goods dipping a bit, services on the rise. What's the story there? What could be behind this divergence in the Danish-German trade story?
Well, there's a few things at play here. Globally, we've seen these supply chain disruptions, right? That definitely messes with the flow of physical goods. Then you've got geopolitical stuff happening, always causing uncertainty in the market. These things, they could be adding to that little dip we're seeing in the goods trade.
But on the services side, that could be a whole other story. Maybe it points to a different kind of connection, something more about knowledge and expertise.
Exactly. Think about the kind of investments both Denmark and Germany are making these days, especially in things like digital tech, green technologies, that sort of thing. We could be seeing growth in those service sectors, specifically as their companies team up, find their niches.
Yeah, so it's not just about buying and selling stuff anymore. It's about sharing knowledge, expertise, that kind of thing. This services trade, it could be a sign of a deeper partnership, something more intertwined. But let's zoom in a little, shall we? Let's talk about those goods for a sec. What are we talking about here? What kind of things are actually being shipped back and forth?
Well, when you look at the top traded goods, there's some interesting stuff. For one, vehicles are right up there at the top. Both ways, top export A&D import between Denmark and Germany.
Huh, vehicles. It's pretty interesting. Says something about their industries, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It suggests a strong automotive industry in both countries. Lots of cars, trucks, parts, all that constantly moving between them. Could be they each specialize in different types of vehicles, or maybe they're part of these big shared supply chains, parts made in one place, assembled in another. There's even the consumer angle. Maybe people in one country just really like the cars made in the other.
Right, so vehicles, that one word covers a lot, doesn't it? There's this whole other level of integration and cooperation happening that we don't see at first glance.
For sure. And it really highlights how interconnected their economies are, how they rely on each other. And speaking of intertwined, there's another interesting tidbit in this data clothing and accessories. Believe it or not, they make up a pretty significant chunk of Danish exports to Germany.
Really? The Danes are sending clothes to Germany? Guess they've got their finger on the pulse of fashion, huh? But it's got to be more than just shared style, right? What's the story behind all those clothes going back and forth?
You're right. It goes deeper than that. It suggests a strong link between the Danish and German fashion industries. Could be that Danish brands are really popular in Germany.
Right.
Or maybe they play a bigger role behind the scenes, designing and manufacturing, even distributing for German companies.
So we might be seeing Danish design influence in the German fashion world. It's amazing how every little detail in this report tells a story. But let's switch gears for a minute and talk about something that really underpins this whole exchange investment. The report says Danish companies have poured a ton of money into Germany, a whopping 165.3 billion Danish kroner.
Wow, yeah. Talk about a vote of confidence in the German economy. And it's not just one-sided either, of course. German companies have invested 51.6 billion in Denmark. But the fact that Danish investment in Germany is more than triple that, That says something.
Yeah, it really does seem like they see something special in the German market, something long term. But what does that kind of investment tell us, beyond the numbers themselves? What does it say about the relationship between these two countries?
Well, that level of investment, especially with Danish companies setting up shop in Germany, almost 2,000 subsidiary companies, if you can believe it, that's more than just trade. It's about becoming part of the fabric of the German economy, you know,
Mhm.
not just exchanging goods and services, but really weaving themselves in.
2,000 subsidiaries. That's incredible. It's not just dipping their toes in the water, it's like they're putting down roots. Really makes you wonder, what does this kind of deep interconnectedness mean for the future of their economic partnership? It's really something, isn't it? How these investments are changing the whole dynamic between them. But we can't really talk about the future without looking at what's happening right now, can we? And this report, it gives us a little sneak peek at what's been going on in 2024.
Yeah, and it's got some interesting stuff in there. For example, first 7 months of 2024, we actually saw trade go down a little, both ways. Danish exports to Germany down 2.6%,
Yeah.
and imports from Germany down 1.3%.
Right.
That's compared to the same time last year, by the way.
Huh. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is that just a little blip, or could it be something more? What could be causing these changes?
Well, that's the big question, right? To really figure that out, we got to think bigger picture globally. I mean, remember when we talked about supply chains, geopolitics, all that? That stuff has an impact, ripples out, and you can see it in those trade numbers.
Right, right. It's like a good reminder that this Danish-German thing, it's not happening in a vacuum. The whole world plays a role.
Yeah.
So looking ahead then, what are the big things to watch out for? What do you think will shape Danish-German trade going forward?
Well, the global economy, obviously.
Yeah.
If the big players slow down or, we see recessions, that's going to affect everything. And then there's, well, something we've touched on already, that green transition. Both Denmark and Germany, they're leading the charge on renewables, sustainability, all that. And that shared commitment, that could lead to even more cooperation, more innovation, more trade.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of potential there. But I mean, it's like any close relationship, right? There's going to be bumps in the road. What kind of challenges do you see them facing down the line?
Well, staying competitive, that's a big one. In a global market that's constantly changing, they've got to be on top of their game, especially
Yeah.
in those key areas, digital, green tech, you name it. And of course, those global uncertainties, the geopolitics, that stuff can really throw a wrench in things.
It's a lot to think about. But one thing's for sure, this relationship between Denmark and Germany, it runs deep, and it's crucial for both of them. Well, folks, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked big picture trade, we got into the nitty-gritty of investment, we even pondered the impact of global trends. But before we wrap up, one last thought for you to chew on. Imagine you're advising a Danish company, let's say they're, I don't know, leading the way in some cool new green tech, and they want to expand into Germany. What would be your top tip for them, based on everything we've learned? Something to think about as we close the book on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Danish-German trade. Until next time, stay curious.